Welcome to the Connection Central Industry Podcast, where real conversations meet real strategies. Each episode we dive into the industries that keep Australia moving, talking with the leaders, innovators, and everyday operators, shaping what's next. So settle in, turn it up, and let's get into it.
Hi everybody, Michelle O'Hara here from Connection Central. We're very lucky today to have Bim Kolade from MultiTech Solutions with us. Welcome, Bim.
Thank you, Michelle. How you doing?
So good to have you. So, a fantastic setup, Bim. Young director. Tell us a little bit about your background, your story, and where MultiTech Solutions is going.
Yeah, so I have a hydraulic background, so I started off finishing school, didn't really have an idea of what I wanted to do. So I did start studying at uni, but in partnership with the study, I decided to start working. So I jumped straight into working as a draftsperson in hydraulics. And then just through that experience, I discovered my enjoyment for building services and wanting to stay in the industry. So I guess one thing led to another. From drafting, I started doing a bit more design, and from design, I did a bit of study, and then obviously with the experience with the study, I landed myself the opportunity of becoming, a hydraulic designer engineer. I joined MultiTech. I want to say, geez, you're testing me now, Michelle. 12 years ago, I think. And I started as just a design drafter, and I worked myself up to the position I am. So I'm a director now, MultiTech Solutions. Yeah, it's been a great journey, eventful, but not without its ups and downs. But that's just life, isn't it?
Sure is. So that's a good segue actually, because obviously in the whole construction building area, everything is changing a lot with the Olympics coming. So when we were talking last week, we were talking about the fact that customers' expectations are getting harder and harder, and as as business owners, part of the business, we really have to decide which customers we want to work with and which ones we don't. And what I really loved about what you were saying is you really like the interesting projects with the tricky sites and the tight time frames and all that sort of thing. So tell us a little bit about those building services that you guys do or offer that make you a bit different and why you sort of go down those roads.
Yeah. So at MultiTech Solutions, we offer all three services, so mechanical, electrical, and hydraulics. And then we also offer the subsidiaries to that. So that's CFD, ESD, that's ESD to do with building fabrics, that is. We also do dry fire and wet fire, including sprinklers and the like. So we like to see ourselves as a bit of a one-stop shop when it comes to building services. And I guess touching back on what you were talking about just a second ago, in terms of selecting clients and being selective with the clients we work with, the reason why we do enjoy those challenging projects with tight timeframes is because, what's life without a bit of challenges? You don't want to wake up every day doing cookies cutter stuff. You want something different, and because we are a bit more of a boutique organization, we like to see ourselves as being nimble and able to facilitate those projects. And because MultiTech isn't a large organization, it means that every project, David and myself as the directors, there's direct contact with us. We're constantly on the projects, we're aware of what projects are coming in, and we're communicating with our clients directly. So yeah, we feel it's both a benefit to ourselves and a benefit to our clients that we can offer that in MultiTech.
Nice. And I think with the Olympics coming up and all the infrastructure and building that's coming, that's going to be a really good unique point of difference for you guys, being able to handle the tight time frames and the turnarounds, right?
Yeah, 100%. Look, the Olympics is interesting. I think when people talk about the Olympics, everyone thinks about the large stuff, the stadia,
Mm.
the fascinating, almost, monolithic, things that are gonna be happening with the Olympics. But the reality is, there's a lot that happens, with the Olympics. There's accommodation, because you're gonna have an influx of tourists and visitors to the city, and it's not just during the Olympics, it's after the Olympics. So you need to make sure there's suitable accommodation for them. Infrastructure, roads need to be suitable. Even things like parks, because if you're going to have a lot of tourists, a lot of more people are going to be wanting to visit parks. They're going to want to have more recreational areas to be in. So things like that. And then one thing that people even overlook is, with an influx of people coming in, there's different pathogens that are getting introduced to Brisbane. So things like healthcare, things like laboratories, those things need to be upgraded. So there's a lot of not just the big things that need to be focused on, but there's also these other subsidiaries, to the Olympics that have to happen. And that's where we like to think that we're going to come in. Everything else that's got to do with the Olympics that's not front of mind, but is essential for successful Olympics. We are definitely going to be throwing our hat in the ring for, and we'll be looking to participate in. So yeah, definitely. Look, it's going to be interesting times, but yeah, it's also, I think, something that we think we'll be able to, as MultiTech Solutions, definitely offer that unique point of difference in.
Nice, nice, fantastic. That's actually a really good point, because yes, it's all the extra stuff, isn't it? That and I do wonder though, with the staff shortages and I guess expense of materials and things like that, what are some of the challenges that you foresee coming within the industry, that you're sort of already planning for or thinking about? I know I'm throwing this one on you. Um, in the very near future.
Yeah, yeah. Some of the challenges we see coming in the industry.
Yeah.
Oh, gee.
Mm.
Oh, wow. That's a loaded question. Yeah, many, many really. I mean, look. Okay, first of all, I think the Olympics is definitely offering Queensland the opportunity to grow as a city, and that is through population. That's through infrastructure, because we are definitely seeing a lot more building services, engineering organizations, architects, contractors coming up into Brisbane just for that exact reason, because the opportunities are arising, both for the Olympics and also, I think, partly due to partly to do with the lifestyle here in Brisbane. But I think the challenges that are going to arise in delivering the Olympics, which I believe was your question. Sorry, I digressed a bit.
Mm.
Um,
That's okay.
is going to be the delivery, because there are, on top of delivering the Olympics, there are other promises the government has made that they need to deliver on. So the challenge is going to be finding the engineers, finding the contractors, and then also sourcing the materials to be able to deliver everything that needs to happen in a suitable time frame. Because that, I mean, the reality is that's going to be the challenge, getting it done in the time frame. Especially now, we're only 8 years away from the Olympics. Oh no, not even that. 6 years away. Six
No,
years away.
less. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So yeah, it's definitely going to be that's going to be the challenge, and I mean, this is going to be a landmark event for Brisbane and Australia really, and the last thing you want to be doing is dropping the ball. So yeah, trying to get everything and I think also not not also, but sorry, not unique, but along those same lines is going to be programming everything in so that they fit in seamlessly. Because it's one thing saying, okay, now we have all the personnel on deck, but throwing everyone on the job at the same time is also not going to be effective, because you need to be able to program these things, schedule these things so that everything is delivered in a systematic and methodical manner. So yeah, there's definitely look, unlike any Olympics in the past, it's definitely going to be a challenge. But I think the joy is going to be how we're going to overcome that challenge, right? So, and I think, you know what? Look, I think we are the Brisbane Olympics. We're very fortunate in where we are in trying to deliver it, because in the past, I think if you turn around and you said, oh, you've got 6 years to deliver, not 6 years, but I mean, we've obviously had time, that's gone by, but from now we've got 6 years to deliver the Olympics. It could seem as a bit of a mammoth task. We're fortunate in that AI is really bridging a lot of gaps that we previously had, that it's going to be a lot easier. For example, if you want to, if an architect in Brisbane wants to talk to an architect in America, in the UK, to talk about what they've done on previous events, it's as easy as a video chat. Gone are the days where you have to send a letter, you have to fly someone over. It's just, hey, click a button and you're on you're on a Zoom call, you're on a Teams call, and you're chatting about ideas, and you're collaborating instantly. I think we're definitely in fortunate times in delivering this Olympics, and especially with the available resources, resources available to us to do so. So, I mean, it would be interesting how it
Interesting.
all works out.
Yeah, no, I like how you've touched on that. So being a younger director, obviously, um, I think, your generation, I can say, probably, you'll think differently. I've been in this game a long time. And I love that fact that, you all are very, very collaborative. And I was doing a podcast yesterday with a trade, and we were basically sort of saying that if industry doesn't come together and collaborate, we're just not going to be able to get it done, because there is going to be a lot to do, and there will be shortages of staff and shortages of time.
Yeah.
And so I love the fact that you're already thinking down that track.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think, and I always say on projects I work on, there's no point us fighting, you know. I mean, I'm sure we've all, especially if you've been in building services industry and you've worked in it, you've had projects where rather than getting along, people are fighting. But I always say there's no point fighting. If a contractor has a good idea, I'm not going to knock it down. It's not about egos. We're all aiming for the same thing. We're all trying to build a building. We're all trying to make, have a successful outcome for whoever it is, a client, ourselves. Just something that we can all be proud of, and that shouldn't be at the expense of, the project. That we're bickering or anything like that. So I think collaboration is a key factor in that. And once again, touching on what I was saying before, we have all the tools to do it now. When we were talking last time, Michelle, I was mentioning about how technology has just changed everything.
Mm.
Other director here, he started MultiTech almost 30 years ago, and he said maybe not when he started MultiTech, but when he started as an engineer, to get a proposal out, you send a letter, These days, that's not even a thing, These days, if you want to send a proposal out, you jump on Word, and it's, you're typing things up, you're sending emails back and forth for clarifications. Technology has just changed everything, and there's no reason why in collaborating we can't use it, and it should be a tool that enhances and improves that collaboration. But I mean, look, with anything, there can be a flip side to it. People can, they can use that as a means to, because it's easier to collaborate. It could be an opportunity then to want to reiterate things. We're just designing things again and again. Oh, okay, I'll just change this little thing. I just change that little thing. Oh, you can do that. Just update it now. So you do have that downside that things are, especially from being a bit selfish here, from a building services consultant. If things are constantly iterated, it does kind of slow the process down. But
Of course.
again, I think the tools there are there for our benefit, and for the most part, I think that's what they're used for, to improve things.
Interesting. So I'm interested to hear from a planning and process point of view. Obviously, also being an engineer, so you've got that logical thinking, potentially even more so than others. Um, do you all adopt some what sort of systems do you use for your planning and processing, like your, to roll out the project plans and stuff like that, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah, what systems do we use to roll out? I mean, look, I think everyone in the building services industry, we obviously all use CAD, which is a step from when people used to draft on, using set squares and T's and things like that. So just on paper. So
Yeah.
CAD was a step
Wow.
from that. But I, th- I think a larger part of the industry now is using Revit, and we are too. So a
Yep.
move
Yep.
from
Yeah.
2D, which is CAD, to Revit is a thing. And Revit has its great advantages in that it's a 3D environment. It gives everybody the opportunity to be able to essentially build you're building the building twice. First, you're building it virtually, you're
Amazing.
coordinating, your clash detection is done, and you can iron out all those little kinks and make sure that you can maximize the space. Plant rooms don't have to be so big. You can squeeze them right down. Sometimes to our detriment as building services engineers, but you can squeeze things down. You can squeeze ceiling spaces down. You can see how things are going to interact and how they're going to, function in real life. And you can do this all virtually before you even, you turn dirt. So Revit definitely has those advantages for it. So CAD and Revit are the main tools we use, and then as an organization, we also just to help with our internal collaboration, we use our email filing system. So we have a unique one here. It's called CODIS, and essentially it gives us the ability, as emails come in, we file them all, and then what it is it's a central hub that everyone in our organization can access. So if an email comes in, anyone else can see that email and they can respond to that email. And it's just once again, it's just like a hub, a database that everyone can access. And it just means that, when you have a problem that on a project, you can go search on that, on the database, and you can ask it questions, or not ask it questions. What you do is you can search keywords to see if that
Search.
problem has arisen before, or if actually, you know what? I remember a couple of years ago, I actually had a response to this. What was that response? You can actually go search it, and you can find that email, and you can either reattach it or you can respond to it. So those are kind of ways we I guess use technology, and those are the ways we
Mm.
roll out um, the the delivery of projects here at MultiTech.
That's amazing. Is that like AI based, or you've integrated it into AI for
Yeah.
future search,
So
or you
at
designed it
the mo-
yourself, or?
yeah, yeah. So at the moment, it's not AI based. What it is it's just a search. It's a search function. So it's not too dissimilar to yeah, let me not say it's not dissimilar to Google, because that's actually not what it is. It has all the emails in there, and they're searchable by keyword. So you can search for a keyword, you know,
Great.
um,
Yeah.
and you can search not just keywords. You can search personnel. I mean, another way we use it is sometimes a team member will be like, "Oh, I need to call this person. Do you have their details?" No, we just jump on Codis, and we just search that person's name, and it will come up with all the emails we received from them, and then you just get their contact details. And anyone can do that in the organization, and it's accessible. So, and so Codis was it was originally started here. What happened was a few years ago, we realized that there were emails coming in, and sometimes they wouldn't get actioned, and there was no transparency, especially for us as directors, to be able to see what's been actioned, what's coming in,
Of
and
course.
making
Yeah.
sure that emails just aren't getting deleted by accident without them being actioned. So CODIS was developed so that we could have a central hub for all the correspondence.
Visibility. Yeah.
Exactly. And then
Mm.
that way we can use it
Interesting.
to, you know, collate all those emails. And to be honest, it's just information gathering. You're just gathering all the emails that come into the office as an organization, and being able to do with them as we need, whether it's search through them, respond to them, and because it's us collecting them, we can use special codes on each email, and makes it easier to search. So, to be honest, the possibilities are endless with Codis, but yeah, we developed that in-house for our purposes, and look, we're definitely seeing a great benefit in using that. So yeah.
Very future. It sounds like you're ahead of the game when you're um, created that actually. So are you
Yeah, I
finding
mean,
now? Yeah, go on.
no, sorry, I was just gonna say, yeah, I mean, yeah. Look, I mean, with I think um, what was that saying? Necessity is the mother of saying, but
Yeah, I can't think of
essentially,
that.
yeah. Look, we created Codis because there was a need there, you know, and it's not to say that there aren't similar programs, but this program is
Mm,
for 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 collecting information, being able to search.
mm.
We believe
Perfect.
it's it's yeah, it helps in doing it seamlessly and doing it in an efficient manner. So that's really where it came from. So I wouldn't say it's super unique and no one's done it before, but we just think we've built on it and made it a better version of what's out there.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, that's a good segue. So going forward, I mean, business is getting tougher and tougher, and it's more expensive, and it's harder to stand out from the crowd and all that sort of stuff. What would you say are some ways that you can sort of stand out going forward, and or things you can do internally to to become the best version of business that you can become?
Yeah, you mean multi-tech specifically or just in general?
Yeah, well, just in general, really. I mean, how often are you guys sort of sitting and planning strategy and reviewing what's going on, and going, okay, there's opportunities here or there's threats here, so we need to keep being agile and adapt, right? Because it's constantly all changing. So, is that something that you'll do a lot, like every quarter, or um, as
Yeah,
things happen, or yeah.
yeah. I mean, look, I think building services is very unique in that I will answer your question. I think I'm gonna launch into a monologue first, and then yeah, it's very unique in that you're not when you study, you think I'm studying to become an engineer, but then when you're not working as just an engineer because you're a consultant. You got to be a marketer, and on top of that, you got to be an engineer. So it's not just getting the engineering done. You got to be able to, because it's well and good to have all the information, but if you have no method of delivering that information, which is the consulting part, no one's going to listen to your message.
Mm,
So you need to be able
interesting.
to have that skill set. And then the marketing part is important because if you cannot identify one, where the market is at the moment, where it's going,
Yeah.
and then how you inject yourself into that, you're also not going to succeed. And that's both as an individual and as a business. Now, you ask, how often do we sit down and go through these things and talk about where we're at? Honestly, as an organization, we do it weekly. So we have weekly sit downs. And look, the weekly sit downs, they're not in depth. We sit down for half an hour, 45 minutes every week, and we just talk about, where we're at, what we're doing, who we're communicating with, and what we're hearing and what we're seeing in the market, just so that we feel like we've got our finger on the pulse, and we've got our ears to the ground, and we know what's happening. And like I said, that's sometimes to a greater or a larger extent. Sometimes we might find that actually there's quite a bit of information or bit of ground we need to cover here, and that meeting might extend for longer. And other times we might think, we're pretty on, we're pretty on here. We feel like we're comfortable, and we only need to go for half an hour. Every week we like to sit down and just see where we're at and make sure, yeah, we're still heading in the right direction. Which, I mean, some people may think it's too much, but for us, we just think it's essential because it's a dynamic,
Mm,
dynamic industry. From week to week, anything can be happening. Um, sometimes time is money. You know, you need to make sure that you're agile and you're nimble enough to be able to adjust. And you don't want to be left behind.
No, I think that's excellent. We meet weekly too. Because I mean, there's, yeah, like you said, there's so much happening, and if you leave it too long, you could miss the boat on opportunities or not see the threats, right?
That's correct, and I think that's the
That's
biggest thing. It's being able to identify not just the opportunities, like you said, threats. And
mm,
it's always that you don't know what you don't know, because there's the knowns, there's the unknowns, and there's the things you don't know that you don't know. Sit down and you can strategize and analyze where you're at. That is where you start bridging that gap between the knowns and knowns, or the things you don't know that you don't know. Yeah.
wonderful. One of the other things when we were talking earlier that I really liked was we were talking about how David built the business, I guess, and how as another director can build it going forward. I wrote down selective stalking was my explanation. But what I loved about what you were saying is that Connection Central particularly is all about bringing people together to create relationships, faster, and bringing the right people together. So share with me a little bit about your philosophy on, the how you build relationships, what you think the future looks like for business and companies to grow and all that sort of stuff. I'm interested to know.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think even from so when David, I think this is probably what you're talking about, the story that I told you about when David first started. And look, don't quote me here, but he did say that there used to be, I think there was a construction budget for all projects, and pretty much the consultant fees were known. So it wasn't really there wasn't really a jostle for this is my fees, these are your fees. It was just almost, I guess relationships played a part there, but everyone kind of knew what they were getting. But then fast forward to now, and I feel like relationships play a massive role, in projects that you do and projects that you win, and the the kind of work you're gonna be successful in, and at MultiTech we do take that very seriously. I mean, it's part of our weekly discussions about where we're at and where we're going, where we sit down and we discuss the people we've talked to and the people we want to reach out to. And I think that's a large change to the past, and even David's era, or when he started off, in that relationships have just become so vital. I'm finding now, even from when I started, that more and more it's about the relationships you're forming with people. It's not just about working with a particular organization. It's about working with a particular person. They want to work with a person. And the thing that I'm finding is that once you've developed that relationship with an organization or a person, they like to take the same team from project to project, because it does make sense. Because if you're working collaboratively and you're working seamlessly with a particular team, even if they do have faults, and I mean we all falter, we're going to be human, we're going to make mistakes, but at least we know how to communicate that with each other, and we know how to overcome that. But that's all formed off the back of the relationships that you build with the team, and being able to kind of work. What's the word I'm looking for? Kind of.
Together, I get it.
Yeah, work together and kind of
You understand each other,
exactly. Yeah, it's the common understanding that you have with
and the
working with.
trust.
Yes,
The
exactly.
trust.
Correct. And
Yeah.
that is definitely, I'd say, a massive change, a massive difference in the industry that I'm noticing. It's that those relationships they're definitely more important than ever. So yeah, and look, I think and going back to what I was saying, as when we're engineers, you have consultant, you're an engineer, and you got the marketing aspect. I think that's generally what would set a good engineering consultancy. Not from technic. I'm not even talking technically. I'm just talking about a
No.
successful engineering company from one that's not so successful. Is how much focus they put on those relationships, and how much energy they put on fostering and
Yeah, great.
developing new relationships. So yeah, it's I think that's the biggest difference. And moving forward, I think that's going to be a driving factor in in the not just for us, but in the industries, the relationships you have and the relationships you develop.
That's good to know. Good for Connection Central. And good plug, thank you. I'll pay you later. But I guess then, for those companies who don't yet have the relationships, how how do they get in?
Yeah, that's a good
How
question,
do they
isn't
meet
it?
these guys? Yeah, what do you do? Like if you say you guys catch up, and I mean that's what Connection Central is for, by the way, but you guys catch up and say, I want to talk to so and so. Like how do you go about that? Because there are those cliques. Well, I think, and I'm not sure if loyalty still exists, but there are sort of cliques and trust built. So how do you get in?
Yeah, it's not a linear process. And look,
Mm.
I'm not from a marketing background myself, but I can only talk from our experience and my experience.
Yeah.
And the way we do it is the industry has changed a lot. So we've gone from a heavily you know, traditional procurement of projects where you get it through a project manager or an architect or a client, and then we go through the design, and you get a design sorted, and then you go to the builder. So that's what it traditionally was. We've kind of started moving away from that. Not 100% moved away from it, but it's definitely getting a sense that there's more DNC projects there, more ECI projects, which is great. Getting a builder involved early on, it means that you can nut down the construction costs. You can those pinch points and those tricky things that you could often miss as a design team. The builder is there to be like, hey guys, there's going to be there's some awkward moments here. We need to discuss it. So we've definitely seen a move into the DNC market. Now, what that means is we will sometimes pick up a proposal where it's already been somewhat, you know, designed, or it's been another team has taken it to a certain level, and then a contractor or builder will come to us and be like, "Oh, can you help us finish this project off and build it?" And usually that's the time we use that opportunity to see, first of all, who's the builder. So Estimate One is a great resource where what we use to, because that's where builders often procure both contractors and consultants. So we use that to find out different builders who's out there, and then we also look at the projects that are being tendered out there, and we look at who's the architect on the project. Is there a project manager on the project, and we reach out to them.
Nice.
So we kind of build our network from there. And, I mean, that's just one way. And then, I mean, sometimes,
Great.
from good work you do, you can be fortunate in, a project manager will put together a team, and you've never worked with a particular, architect, or, that project manager, because they've just found you. Yeah, you can get some runs on the board that way. But I'd say E1 is a big resource that we use, and just being able to, see what's out there, and see
Mm.
who's who in the zoo.
That's brilliant. I appreciate that share. Look, we're at the end already. See how quickly that went? Um, for our audience, Bim, sum up for me in one sentence, putting you on the spot here. What you think business owners in your space, in your industry, need to do going forward in one sentence? What's the best thing that they could really fine tune and do well, in order to be successful going forward?
Oh, yeah, you put me on the spot. I would say focus on the technical, focus on the relationship, and everything will flow from there.
Awesome. Awesome. You have been phenomenal. Thank you so much. You didn't need to be nervous.
No,
And I appreciate your time very much.
thank you, Michelle, and I hope you have a great day.
You too. Thank you. Bye.
Ciao.